Bridget.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda adjustments, there'll be no adjustments tonight, and this meeting is being videotaped. We will be going into executive session, so we'll be voting to go into executive session for the purpose of strategy discussions for Unit B contract negotiations, because doing it so in public session will negatively impact the bargaining position of the committee. Upon return from executive session, we will continue the rest of the agenda. So if I can get a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Situate, second by Whitman. Any discussion?
Yes.
Second,
Yeah,
roll call
second.
vote.
Roll
Okay.
call vote.
Okay,
Roll
roll
call.
call vote. I was going to do the
Yes.
discussion. Yep.
Can I say yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Roll call.
Yes.
Okay. We're now in executive session. All right, ratification vote. I asked for a
I make a
motion.
motion, we reopen the public forum meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Normal public forum meeting.
Second.
All in favor, discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, thanks, Bob. All right, we're now back in public session. We'll take a vote on, take a motion for the proposed Unit B MOA.
I'll make the motion, the committee accepts it.
Okay, motion made by Noel, second by Situate. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Does that be roll call, Jim? No? No? Good. That's it.
All right. Public comments. Are there any comments tonight from the public? No? Okay, thank you. Approval for the minutes. I ask for a motion to approve this set of minutes.
So moved.
Motion made by Situate,
Second.
second by Rockland. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Student of the month, Sandy Baldwin. If you come to the podium, please.
Perfect. Good evening, committee and colleagues. Thank you. You can hold the bling, and then I'll talk about this lovely student of ours. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our first student of the month for the 2018-19 school year. This is Elizabeth Hennessy. She is a senior in cosmetology from the town of Rockland. She is currently employed at Rudolph Adamo Salon in Situate, and her proud parents are Melissa and Richard Hennessy, and they're here with us this evening. Elizabeth is a National Honor Society member. She's a scholar, an athlete, and she is civic-minded. She's a cheerleader and a lacrosse player. Additionally, she is a student ambassador, a member of Skills, and a student leader who initiates fundraisers and philanthropy events in her shop and for our school. She's described by our teachers as hardworking, helpful, mature, very kind, and dedicated. Her shop instructor, Miss Darling, states Elizabeth demonstrates strong leadership skills. And she has been instrumental in raising funds for the New York trip last year and has run many fundraisers, including the October Pink Hair Extensions, the LCR tournament, and face painting for many school events. She volunteers for every possible event, including most recently the second annual Ken Thayer Car Show. Her English teacher, Mrs. Bateman, says, well deserved, Elizabeth. She is a leader and holds her peers to the highest standard, and when tasked with leading a team, she's a strong writer and strives for greatness always. On a more personal note, she and Mrs. Bateman share a love for all things Disney. And on her last trip to Disney World, she brought home a Mickey Mouse Rice Krispie treat for Mrs. Bateman, and Mrs. Bateman assured us that it just automatically tasted better in the shape of Mickey. Please do join us in celebrating Elizabeth Hennessy as South Shore Regional Vocational Technical High School's October 2018 Student of the Month. And Liz, I'm going to just take 1 second and ask you a quick question. I'm going to lean over, I'll step aside and let you take the mic. Can you talk to us just for a minute about one thing that you've participated in here at South Shore that really has helped define you as you enter your senior year?
Yeah. So probably one of the most major things I helped out with the school would probably be my first face painting event last year. I went and I helped Miss Darling set it up. I went out, I got the face paint. We went to, I think it was the car show last year, and just being there with other classmates and painting kids' faces and just making their day. A lot of kids were shy and they would come up, be like, oh, okay, like, what do you want? Like, do you do this? And then I'd really get to know them with their name, what they're doing, and like breaking them out of that shell, even if it was just for 5 minutes, it really like made my whole entire day. Ever since then, I've found my love for going out and doing fundraising events and going face painting and everything else.
You're sure to see Liz all over campus.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from our student representative, Cody Campbell. Welcome, Cody.
Hello. So I would first like to start off by saying that over the past week, our girls varsity volleyball team was the first ever girl sport in the school to have a league championship of 13-1. The car show that we mentioned before, we had fewer attendees that bought shirts and food, so fundraising was slow. And we ended up with an excess amount of food that left us looking for food left over, and we're looking into the possibility of doing a veterans lunch in November around Veterans Day, but we're still in the very early steps of planning. This Saturday, October 20th, the Parents Association is hosting the craft fair here at SST. There'll be over 80 crafter tables, and it'll be open with various crafts for you to buy. It's a great opportunity to buy Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, or any home decor. On October 25th, during the parent-teacher conferences, National Honor Society will be running a bake sale during the meetings between 5 and 8 p.m. On Saturday, October 22nd, Haunted Hollow will be hosted yet again here at SST, between 10 and 1. And it'll be providing crafting and game activities for younger members of our community between the ages of around 3 to 7. And it's a great opportunity for parents, for the community to come and have some fun and celebrate Halloween here at SST. And then Student Council will be continuing the tradition of selling spirit shirts. And if you purchase one of these shirts and go to one of the games, any sports game, you'll get in for free. And we will be starting that hopefully by the end of this week. The senior class student council members are also continuing to sell their fundraising calendars until the end of November. The drawings will begin on December 1st. If you're looking to purchase a calendar or want to support student council, be sure to reach out to any member or an advisor. On Sunday, November 18th, the SST Skills USA chapter has sponsored yet another club trip to go to Bourne National Cemetery to retrieve and store all the flags on the graves of the fallen soldiers. And then directly after that trip, they'll be heading off to the Fall State Leadership Conference in Marlborough, which will last until that Tuesday, November 20th. And then for our service trip this year, we're looking into the feasibility of going to either Houston or New Orleans, but much like the veteran lunch, it's still in its very early planning phase. That's all I have. Is there any questions?
Cody, how much are the calendars?
They're $10 each. Anyone else?
Anything else?
What was the date of the craft fair?
The craft fair was this Saturday, October 20th, from 10 to 2. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
All right, we'll move on to the treasury reports. Jim?
Thank you, Chris. I believe last month I had the New England Patriots logo on the cover, and they lost the game, so I didn't want to have any losers anymore. So this month's cover has pictures from
Winners.
winners, yes, winners. The girls volleyball team, as Cody mentioned, is the first league championship in the school's history. Also a couple pictures from the golf team, who were undefeated at the last meeting that we had. Currently, based upon talking to Coach Hill earlier tonight, they're 8-3-2. I believe they're second place in the league, so they've done phenomenal. They had practice earlier today, and I guess they had a pizza party. So there is an extra pizza hanging around the school somewhere, so if anybody's hungry after the meeting.
Scavenger hunt, all right.
Exactly.
Find the
So,
pizza.
so that's on the cover for this month. Page 2 pretty much has the summary of all of our financial situations with the cash balances. Again, Rockland Trust is our main bank. Savings accounts at Rockland Trust a little over $3.7 million. Again, we have money spread through community banks, Pilgrim Bank, Mutual Bank, Abington Bank. New to the last couple of months of bank accounts is we also have a PayPal account. The PayPal account is being used for the website, so that now people who register for evening school and other programs, they can go to the website, pay on PayPal, and then we get the money and then we transfer it to our regular accounts and so forth. So even what happened was that during the month of September, we had a big influx of registrations, and it's making it it's a lot easier for the individuals who are signing up for all the courses. And again, we also accept credit cards here in the Brass Lantern. We accept credit cards at Cosmetology. We're working on Apple Pay. A specific question Mr. Moeller had asked over the years. So Apple Pay is available over Cosmetology. We're waiting to get the terminal here in the Brass Lantern to accept Apple Pay here. So again, we're moving into the 21st century with the technology of collecting fees and so forth. Our
Can parents come online over the website and PayPal and pay for school lunches and things like that, build up accounts?
Well, the school lunches are paid through My School Bucks, which is a separate program.
Okay.
But through credit cards, we accept if there's lost books or football players lose a helmet, or if there's any of those sorts of fees, they can be done through the credit cards and so forth. And the PayPal right now has only been advertised mainly through the evening school. We had some summer programs as well that they used it during the summer, but it hasn't been promoted yet as an option for other purposes. It's one of those baby steps up to the process before we open it up for all purposes. But the credit card's available for everybody. When I first started a few years back, it seemed like I was writing 3 or 4 letters every couple weeks on bounced checks, and now that I haven't written a bounce check letter in about a year and a half, because the credit card is always an option for people to pay for various things. So it's streamlined a lot of the cash flow. Our OPEB account is about $656,000. Again, we add to that every year, so that's always a good thing. Our revenue for the month of September, again, a slow month. The only collections we really receive are some investment income, and we receive our monthly Chapter 70 money from the state of $361,000. So we'll be doing billing again pretty shortly on our member towns, and we'll also, I believe, on November 1st start sending out the first bill for the out-of-school district, out-of-district students as well. Once October 1st passes, the student count is dealt with through DESE. We finalize the numbers, we finalize the out-of-district school population, and then we bill the sending towns for their share of tuition. So that'll be done in November, and will show up in November's financial report. And the final page is our expenses. Again, a typical month, a little over $600,000 worth of payroll, and not a lot of other items that pop out. Once the teachers start the school year in September, they get their uniform allowances in a lump sum check. So there's $14,000 worth of uniform allowances that are paid out during the course of the month. And everything else is pretty much standard health insurance and shop supplies and and everything else as everybody is building up for the school year. So overall, we spent about $994,000 on expenses for this month, which is a pretty standard month. So overall, we're in great financial shape and chugging along as usual. And again, a typical month goes by with, Tricia and Sylvia doing a fabulous job. Again, the purchase order system is, again, we are on the cloud, as I mentioned last month. We are fully online on the cloud now with our accounts payable and our payroll systems. Crystal has been a great help. Holly is now having access to a lot of the payroll related items. The staff will be having access to the portal to be able to make changes to their direct deposit or exemptions or any of that sort of stuff. So they'll have access to look at their pay stubs online and so forth. So again, it's working smoothly so far. Haven't had any major glitches, but we are on the cloud with all of our accounting systems. So that's it.
Thanks, Jim.
Motion to adopt.
Okay. Second?
Second.
By Whitman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Jim, any other business?
No, I think that's it for tonight.
Under the chairman, I don't have anything tonight. Subcommittees, there's no subcommittee reports tonight. And I'll hand it over to Tom, Superintendent Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In my brief remarks, I want to thank members of the committee who were able to come to our open house. It was another fantastic event. We had 265 registrations for the event. It's likely that most folks were coming with families, so it certainly increased the number of people. It's always a very proud, exciting time to have our doors opened. Of that number, 198 of those children who registered were in grade 8. We had about 44 students who were 7th graders who got an early look at the school, which I think is very important as well. By all accounts, our staff outdid themselves with how they organized their shop areas. The cafeteria had our academic departments, student leadership, and academics and athletics. That was very well attended. This restaurant was hopping with the food that the culinary students prepared. That was certainly a stop for almost all of us, staff and guests alike.
They loved it.
That was certainly wonderful. We made some upgrades with some of the banners that we had in the hallways to help people walking our halls for the first time. As you go down the center hallway, you might not instinctively look up to see the banner up above, so we had some full-size banners with pictures from our view book that helped to, I think, to draw people in. And so I can't say enough about the administrative staff, our guidance staff. It was just well run. And we always have to do a polite, it's 1 o'clock, time to go message at the end. But we don't want to push too hard because we're happy that folks will come out and take a look. So I'm very grateful for all the work that everybody put in. I will say right now that typically we've had open house on the second Saturday of the month, and when we look ahead, you can all thumb through your phones and see that next October, that's going to fall on Columbus Day weekend. So we're going to stay away from Columbus Day weekend and the open house. And so we'll be getting some dates out. We'll be going to the third Saturday of October in 2019. But we've already had a debriefing session and ready to plan even better things for next year. So thank you all for your support. Second item I have with regard to administrator reports. We'll hear from our administrators who are here tonight, but I'd like to start off by means of introduction and giving them an opportunity to say hello and introduce themselves to you. As you know, in our administrative reorganization, we hired 2 vocational coordinators. These gentlemen are responsible for overseeing and being the direct supervisors for half of our vocational technical programs. And their job is to get to know the teachers and the students, the advisors in these programs, and they have both done a phenomenal job from day one. So in no particular order, nobody drew straws at the beginning. Okay. Well, we'll go with home field advantage. I'd like to introduce Keith Boyle. Keith comes to us from Upper Cape as a former horticulture teacher, and Keith will offer some opening remarks and talk about some of the initiatives that he's been working on since he came on board.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. For those of you I don't know, my name is Keith Boyle. Nice to meet everybody. I am a Hanson resident. Along with being a resident in town, I also own and operate my own cranberry bogs, also in Hanson. Some of the initiatives that I've been, kind of working on, not just myself, but also as a collective team. One of the big ones has been the co-op piece, the cooperative education. I'd like to report out that at this point, as of today, 33 of our seniors are out on approved co-op sites. Of those 33 students, they have earned a total of just about $22,000. So in the first month of school, a lot of these kids went out at staggered rates. So they've been going out 5, 6, 7, 8 a week. So the total number's up to the 33. But they've come together to earn the total of the $22,000 at this point. So we're very proud of those students. They're very fortunate to have found the jobs and the opportunities that they have landed, and we are working on getting more and more students out the door as every day goes by. A couple other things just to note: advisory is coming up on the 1st of November. Part of the goal of the vocational office has been to encourage our staff to increase their advisory board numbers and kind of clean up the advisory board, people that are no longer or haven't been active. At this point in time, we came into the school year with 204 members listed. We're now at 231 members listed and counting, and that includes the removal of some of the people who have not been participating. Couple other just quick things that we've been working on here. We started FFA, so as part of the horticulture program, we have started an FFA chapter, which is a student-run organization. So those students will now get involved in the state level, hopefully at some point the national level. That will be brought up through Tom and Cassie, who are the 2 horticulture instructors. Additionally, with the horticulture program, they have been working hard on the improvement of the campus. As you can see, the entrance of both the main entrance of the school and now the entrance to the restaurant and the salon have been completely renovated between removal of the old plants, planting of the new plants, and the mulch has been applied. We are now working on having a well installed to have the front of the campus irrigated. So that's upcoming. And then a couple other things, just we have started a recycling program here at the school. We initiated it in early September. It's been off to a good start, a couple corrections here and there, but it seems like both students, staff, and everybody else is doing their part in running a successful program. And last but not least, we have started to increase our social media footprint here we're actively posting on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter to reach out to community members, students, and everybody in between, to describe all the fantastic stuff that we're doing here at SST. That's it.
Yeah, Keith,
We've known each other for a while. I want to say that when I went to look at the classroom, I noticed that you now are doing paving blocks.
Oh, the horticulture program?
Yeah, the horticulture program, and I think that's outstanding, because most landscapers, not only, you think of a landscaper as cutting grass and trimming trees, it's not all that. It's also paving, maybe making fire pits, whatever, to beautify somebody's home, and I think it's great that you started to do that. It really looks good.
I will spread that message. They will be very happy to hear that.
It was a good display. When you walk by, you could see all the equipment and then.
Yeah,
right
well
beside.
presented.
Yeah, definitely.
All the shops were.
Thank you.
Yeah, so clearly Keith doesn't have much to do yet. But I do also want to thank Keith for his efforts, and also point out that Keith is a Norfolk Aggie graduate,
Right.
and our 2 horticulture teachers are also Norfolk Aggie graduates. So not only do they bring their technical expertise, but they also bring the experience of going through one of our schools. Going through a regionalized vocational technical agricultural school.
He was a good steal.
I will throw it out there for Mr. Haywood. We are also, all 3 of us are also Stockbridge graduates, so.
4.
All 4.
The 3 applied.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
I went way
you,
back.
Keith.
Yeah, it was
Me and Taj Mahal, you know?
And similarly, another gentleman who equally, I don't think he's been sitting once since the start of the school year. I'd like to welcome up Bob Foley. Bob's our other vocational coordinator.
Yep.
Prior to Bob starting here, Bob was our lead carpentry teacher at Blue Hills. So he brings a wealth of construction experience as well as a passion for Skills USA, which I have no doubt he'll be talking about. Thanks, Bob.
I never miss a moment to promote skills. Good evening. Pleasure to be here. One of the first things that Ms. Balder said is that you're going to have a smile on your face when you come to work every day, and I got to say that she's right. It's very exciting to be here. It's a lot shorter commute. I live in Kingston, Mass. I worked 11 years at Blue Hills Regional in Canton. I just had to go up there for a soccer game, so they're undergoing a major renovation, so it's kind of exciting to see what I don't have to sit through every day as they rebuild my old shop. But I proudly sat as the educational representative to the Skills USA Board of Directors. That's a position that's held by an active advisor, and not being a teacher any longer, I had to forego that position, but they've kept me on the board, and I'm going to be soon taking over the state competition that the kids go and compete every May in. So I'm excited to help invigorate a very rigorous program that's already in place here. Lisa Bellatoni is the advisor this year. She and Bob Mello I've known for years. They've done an outstanding job, and they're well recognized amongst their peers at Skills. So one of my challenges this year was the whole social media thing, and yes, they were able to teach me, thank you to Keith and some others, on how to do an Instagram post. So that was a novelty for me. The other thing, I've been active, I'm a licensed builder. I have a heavy construction background. I've been assisting with the greenhouse that's underway. If Mr. Hickey hasn't shared with you, the footings have been poured. They started tying the rebar for the walls, and they'll be forming those tomorrow, and they'll be pouring the walls on Friday. So that's starting to move along with utility work beginning next week. One of the other things that I've been working on is we have on November 5th, we have the pre-apprentice vocational school training program sponsored by the Mass Laborers Union. It's part of the Workforce Development Program, UMass Transportation Committee, which I sit on their board too. And it's being done under a federal transportation grant through Mass DOT, so it's no cost to our school. So basically, the Laborers Union will come in with their own instructors. They're going to take 20 of our kids from various shops. At the end of the week-long program, they will be first aid, CPR, and AED certified. And all the hours that they spend for that week will be pre-apprentice hours that will be transferable to the Carpenters Union, the Laborers Union, the Electricians Union, Sheet Metal Workers Union, Pipe Fitters Union, and the Operators Union. So it's a great opportunity for our kids. And anyone that goes through the program will also be able to get a free Class B CDL license through the New England Tractor Trailer Training School. So it's a great opportunity for our kids. It's a rigorous program. I'll tell you, the guy that comes out, he's like a drill sergeant, and no fooling around. So, you know, we're really looking at the kids that we're going to send in, make sure that they're all top notch and they're going to do us right and represent the school well. See, I'm trying to use technology. I'm struggling here, Keith. I might need your help. Yeah. So one of the other things that we're doing here for the schools, we're also tracking the use of the Career and College Center, the old library, who's using, how many kids are using it, what the percentages are that are coming in, just so that we can keep track of the data that is involved with the people coming in and what the students are getting out of that program. And then one of the other things that I'm personally going to be working on this year is researching industry-recognized credentials, what that does for our students, how that helps them, and how that gives them a preferential selection in the hiring process when they go out into industry. So, like Keith, we don't sit at our desks much. We do have an awesome administrative assistant, Nicole Connor. She's helping me out immensely. I'm a little bit older than Keith, if you haven't figured it out, so A lot of that technology she's keeping under wraps for us, so she's just a pleasure to work with every day, and she's really helping keep that vocational office smooth running. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can continue,
Yes.
we'll turn it over to Sandy so that she can offer some commentary regarding some recent testing results we had.
I'm actually going to pass testing results on to Mr. Aubrey, and I'm going to pick up with a couple more comments on open house and then some information about some potential new licensure areas in our vocational area, our vocational arena. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that this is a very exciting time to be in voc ed. It's a very positive time to be in voc ed, and I have to credit and thank Mr. Aubrey and Mr. Hickey for putting together what I think you'll find is a really dynamic and energized leadership team with these two gentlemen and supported by two folks you don't see often, Crystal Paluzzi, our IT director, and Katie Berry, a very talented special ed director. We're really in a good spot right now, and I think you're going to see lots of growth from our school as a result of some really good leadership. So thank you, gentlemen. Open house, I think we can say, was wildly successful. The only other things I'd add from what Mr. Hickey and Mr. Boyle added was that we really had a lot of student support here. We had the volleyball, a few volleyball players, some cheerleaders, a few football players, really enriched the look of our school and helped folks understand that we really are a comprehensive high school with lots of opportunities for students across our schools. And our student ambassadors looked fantastic in their ambassadors' uniforms and really were well trained to do some really hard work for us, making sure that all of the folks got through into registration. So of those over 200 folks who registered, much credit must go to Amy Dow for 161 completed applications and 125 completed interviews. We're sitting on over 200 completed applications with 125 interviews in October of 2018. So that should be music to all of your ears. If you'd like to see how they broke down by town, feel free after the meeting to catch me. I have that data if you want to take a look at it. So good job to everyone. Thank you. And finally, on to some new opportunities. At South Shore, we are in the process of putting together a Chapter 74 application for a new web programming and design licensure area. This would not be a new program footprint, but like the digital piece to digital visual communications, our formerly graphic communications program, it's an additional area of licensure that would support students who are currently in our CIT program, offering web design and programming to those students and potentially offering opportunities for electives for students maybe in the DVC program or potentially across the school. So we're looking at that in the month of October to submit that as well. I'm going to end by saying I am wearing pink very purposefully. It is October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to shout out to our amazing folks led by Bob Moorhead and our Greens crew, who did a beautiful job putting a pink ribbon on our field for the last game last week. It looked fantastic. And a quick shout to all those who suffer, and specifically to our very own Sylvia Coppola. So shouts to her. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
As Mr. Hickey mentioned, I do have the data tonight. I do want to mention a couple of things, kind of pulling off a few other things. So Mr. Cooney was kind enough to bring in his trophy from the car show. He did win a trophy a couple weeks ago, so we congratulate him. And I said, you got to bring it. He did it. It's nice when people actually follow my directions. I appreciate that greatly. To Mr. Coughlin, the pizza no longer exists. It was very good. Thank you. Okay. So it's that time of year when we're talking MCAS. And we've been down this road before. And when Margaret would stand up here, she'd talk about proficient and advanced and the fact that that's really where the state is really looking. It's not how many kids pass the test at a 220, it's how many kids are in proficient and advanced, which is 240 up to a 280. So when I'm talking tonight about MCAS, that's what I'm focusing on. We're focusing on learning. Keep in mind, we're taking students from not only from your 8 towns, but also the kids outside of your town. So we're really trying to take a hodgepodge of different curriculums and put everybody on the same page and move them forward. So I do have a couple of results here. So in the ELA test, so proficient and advanced, we had in 2017 a total of 43 got advanced. This year we were up to 63 got advanced. So that's what we're talking about. No, total, out of the number. Yeah, that's the total number. Out of 143. We had 43 last year, thank you, Tom. 43 who got advanced, and now we're up to 63 this year. So we jumped 20 extra students moving advanced. That's what the state is looking at, is how far we're moving people forward. The math, very similar. I'm going to use percentages on this one because the numbers are different. But we went from 79% proficient in advance up to 84%. So we gained another 5%. So we're moving in the direction the state wants us to move in. It's not just passing. We are moving kids further up the ladder to where they need to be and where the state expects them to be. This is done not just by the ELA department, not just by the math department. This is done by the entire staff. We had a staff meeting yesterday, and I talked to every single one of them. The related instructors who are doing math with their students, the related instructors who are working on book work and reading and things like that. All that stuff goes into this. This is just not about one group of people. It's about the whole community, the parents, and let's not forget the students and the efforts they're putting in as well. Okay? I do need to mention, top score is a 280 in math. We had a student earn a 280 this year. Perfect score. So he will be, the parents don't know till next week, so I can't say, but it was a nice job. He did a very nice job with that. In the science realm, once again, we see growth. We got 125 this year. We had 109 students last year who had proficient in advanced. So we gained another 16 students in the science realm. So everywhere you look, our proficient in advanced goes up. And that's what the state's looking at, and that's what we should be talking about. How much we are teaching these students. So if you look at student growth percentile, which I know Margaret has talked to you about, I liken it to this. If we take all the students who had the same score and we put them on the 10-yard line on the football field, student growth percentile measures how far we moved them down the football field, okay? So this school in ELA was 12th in the state, not 12th in the South Shore, not 12th in vocational schools, 12th in the entire state on moving SGP and these kids forward. That is a phenomenal effort by your staff, every single day coming to school. Not to be outdone, the math department was number 3 in the state, folks, in moving SGP. So taking these kids from that 10-yard line and moving them forward. That is teaching and that is learning, and that's what this building is about. Every single day we are here. Testing aside, your students are learning every day they come to this building, and you should be proud of them and their staff. Thank you very much.
Now, Tom, you listen about the open house and how many kids came and what we're looking at and what we're teaching our kids. And then we have to turn around and we only have so much room. And we have to, say to parents, I'm sorry, we don't have room for your children. We should be able to get them all into school that are looking to be here. But we have to
Fingers
turn
crossed
away.
for December.
Yeah.
I've said it 4 times. Fingers crossed for MSBA will make their decisions.
It's just a shame that we're turning kids away with this type of results with our students.
Yeah.
And we have to turn some away. What a shame.
I have to agree with Dan. We really had intermingling at the open house, and the parents especially were positive about this school. That's why the students are here. And Rockland, those parents from Rockland that spoke to me and other people that were around me, they are really disturbed about what's happening with us not being able to go to Rockland, and they were really up in arms, and that's why they were here. They knew they could come here, they could get registered and have someone talk to their students directly. But I know Bob's gonna have his 2 cents up to Rockland sooner or later, I understand.
It's already happened. All that being said, if I can just piggyback up for that, I did go meet with a member of Rockland, and the bottom line is that public education has become a competitive market, and we are in that competitive market a lot stronger than we used to be in the past. And what the towns are not realizing is that we have to be held to the same standards as they have to be held to by the state. And some of those things have been passed along forward and the communication going on over there because of, you know, the amount of charter schools, private schools, Catholic schools, us schools here. It's, you know, a lot of the towns are losing a lot of these kids, and they you know, again, the frustrating part, it's not about the kids, it's about money. And it's about the money that they're seeing losing, and it's about the money that we're seeing, that we're losing because we're not big enough to take in more. But it all comes down to funding, it comes down to state, it comes down to the evaluations of the formulas, I think, that have to be reconsidered at some point in time, because vocational education is something that's going forward a lot faster than I think is going on out in the community. And the discussions are going on there, and it's, you know, Rockland's fighting for their dollar. And, you know, like I said, public education, we are their second public school. Rockland High School is one school, we are their second public school that the town is responsible in having it.
Mention what Mark just mentioned. Our teachers are teaching and the students are absorbing. That's what's really comes down to it. This school has come so far ahead in the last few years, and our staff is really great that way. It's changed over my tenure here from, well, it was always the students' fault that they weren't learning. Well, it's 180 now. It's the teachers that are making it interesting enough and wanting the student to absorb it.
And it's a credit to the school, Bob, that, just like I said, that, you know, we have to be held by the same standards as every other public school in the state. So the vocational schools are not just a separate entity saying like, okay, oh, well, here you go, you're all set, you guys don't have to take these things. That's not the truth. We have to maintain, we take MCAS scores, we have to maintain the same standards as public schools do. And that's why the quality student and the testing and the administration policies have there, where they have the vision out there that we just take all the best students from each town. That's not the case. If they look and study the formula, it's there. If you take the average, I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think it's a kind of like a happy medium between all three levels of what we take. And the school is succeeding, and because we are succeeding in the public market out there. So that's the problem.
Yeah, it starts with good governance and it goes from there. Thank you for those comments. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to close up with just a few more event items coming up that may be of interest to committee members. Just to add to Keith's earlier comment about the November 1st advisory meeting, you're all more than welcome to attend if you'd like. I have a 6 o'clock meeting with the respective chairs of the committees. That's kind of like a quick opening meeting welcoming them. And then the other meeting is typically in the spring when we have the dinner, so kind of a bookend with the chairs. But the dinner is at 6:30 in our cafeteria, and then the breakout sessions, we'll call to order at 7, and then the breakout sessions start at about 7:20. So if you're available, if you're interested, 6:30 would be the best time, and then you can see what that's all about, as well as some of the opening remarks. We'll have a student speaker, a student MC, as we have in years past. I'd also like to make a special mention. Some of you may be aware of a gentleman named Richard Fitz. There's a VFW post, I believe, in Abington, Tom, that's named after him. And Mr. Fitz Sr. was a graduate of our school in the 1960s. He went to Vietnam. He died in Vietnam. His son, Richard Fitz Jr., has spent the last several years putting together a documentary, a movie about his dad. For many years, he didn't know much about what his dad did. It was secret. And he has since spent an inordinate amount of time putting something together. We have supported, and Mr. Fitz Jr.'s son, we had his son here as a student who graduated in the last few years. We've done an early screening of this movie when it was in development. And so I just want to mention that on Veterans Day, on the 11th, we'll be opening the school for Mr. Fitz Jr. and the folks that helped put this movie together. It's called 21 Years, A Folded Flag. And I actually have a copy of the DVD. If anyone's interested, I'll certainly be able to get it to you. But that's going to be open to the public, and we're going to be letting folks know about that as a way of not only acknowledging veterans, certainly appropriate in the month of November, but also supporting members of our community, giving the ultimate sacrifice and still being active in the South Shore. So that's coming up on November 11th. We'll do justice to promoting this outside of this meeting as well. I'd also like to remind you that because the third Wednesday of November falls the night before Thanksgiving, our next meeting will be on the second Wednesday of November, on the 14th at 7 p.m. You'll get a reminder on that. And also, November is also the month that we sell pies from Culinary Arts. I want to put out an early shout out that we will be doing pre-orders, and we'll be trying to move, as Jim talked about earlier, as we've talked about moving forward with technology, we're going to really be emphasizing pre-orders across the board. We'll be promoting that accordingly. Last year we had long lines of people, and we definitely know our culinary students do a great job making pies. I just can't have them start making pies tomorrow.
But we should be able to get a good deal on cranberries.
There we go. There we go. Good one,
I was
Bob.
gonna ask, dry or wet chick?
Change that order sheet. Change that order sheet. So anyway, that's just some other housekeeping, Mr. Chairman, and that concludes my very short, lengthy report.
Great, thank you. That's good. All right, we'll move on to new business. I ask for a motion to approve the donations to our automotive department and college and career center as listed.
See, as it's an electric car, I think it's appropriate that I make the motion. I think it should go to the electrical shop, but that's another story.
Okay. Motion made by Situate, second by Hanover.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next is surplus. I ask for a motion for the surplus item as listed.
Motion.
Motion by Hanover,
Second.
I'll second.
second by Whitman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Now we'll go to warrants.
Warrants, a motion to approve warrants 7,000, 7A, 7B, 7C, 8, and 8,000 for a total of $1,148,770.79.
Motion made by Danny. Second?
Motion by me.
Oh, motion by, second by Danny, sorry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Any requests for action tonight? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
No due respect?
Danny?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Whitman, second by Rockland.
No vote required.
All in favor?
Hey, hey.